Welcome to Eat Your Backyard. Decided to do a live stream with my new phone capability, the much talked about. I finally came through, so I'd be interested to know what the quality is like on this live stream. I think I've got the formula down for a good connection, but I'd like to see if this is much better than my previous phone. So today I will... Hey James Tropical, how you doing? Thanks for jumping on. Got a moderator on the stream. Hey James, how does the stream look compared to previous streams? Did you see any quality increase? Just here looking at this tamarind tree. And in this video, by the way, I'm going to focus on the tamarind tree. I've got several growing around. Looks pretty clear. Oh, okay. Well, hey, that's good to hear. Okay, so yeah, tamarind trees. Here's what I know about tamarind trees. First of all, they grow very easily down in places like southern Florida, Miami. I'm in central Florida here, so we do get the occasional touch of frost, and that kind of limits some of the more tropical plants. The tamarind tree has been known to me to be one of those slightly more sensitive trees. There are two varieties of tamarind tree that I know of. One is the sour, one is the sweet. And the sour is really, really sour. I mean, incredibly sour. I love it. It's my favorite. And then there's the sweet, which is also very, very good. They both got a, kind of an unusual flavor, but in a good way. You can see the growth pattern of the leaves. It's really beautiful. It's almost like the Royal Poinciana, the flamboyant tree. It also has beautiful flowers on it. This one is already flowered. This is a rather sticky looking, meaning it's very woody looking young tree that I bought at a nursery. It's only been in the ground about 4 months or so, maybe a little slightly longer, but it hasn't really had time to set up. But since then, I've also been growing several attempts to grow sweet and sour tamarind from seeds. So I'll show you some that, first of all, just to give you an idea of how easy this can be, I'll show you some that simply grew from seeds that fell off the side of a folding table I had over here that I was using to plant things. This is Carolina River Rock, and these little tamarind trees grew right out of those. All they did was fall in, and you can see, oh, here's one of the seeds. It looks like this one maybe dried out. But the seeds simply fell into the rocks and grew. But it took a decent amount of time. I mean, at least probably 3 or 4 weeks before this occurred. I didn't even really notice that this had happened. Now I'm gonna pull them up, but one thing they do is they send down a fairly vigorous taproot. So, whether they'll do well after being pulled up there remains to be seen. This one I put in the shade, so to speak, a shadier part of my yard. This time of year in the summer, because the sun is almost directly overhead, but in the winter time, the sun will be far down towards the equator, so then it gets a lot of sun. So it actually, weirdly enough, gets more sun in the winter. So I'll show you another spot where I simply threw a handful of sour tamarind trees. And again, seeds. Now these can become really kind of almost invasive, pervasive down in South Florida for this reason. Again, noting just that the germination time span is kind of high. Compost bin continues to eat compost. And I'll show you some sweet tamarind over here that I grew. One thing that people do is grow it for soup in Thailand. They grow the sprouts and then harvest the leaves, and the leaves are actually sour, like the fruit. So they use it for flavoring. But these are all tamarind trees that I pulled from a larger pot where I grew a whole bunch of them and then separated them. And you can see they're doing well. And this is about 3 months of growth, something like that. And you can see they're showing up. And I've got several more back in here that are on their way. So really kind of cool. This time of year, I'm looking to get all the vigorous growth I can out of these small fruit trees And simply because, you know, in the wintertime they get kind of tagged with the cooler temperatures. This is a carambola tree that I grew from a seed. That's a great one. And of course the tamarind grown from a seed, papaya grown from a seed. These are all seed grown things. And ooh, I hadn't noticed. Look at this. My little croton grown from a seed is doing quite well. I had a couple that I grew from seeds this year, a couple crotons, and both of them did very, very well. This is my sea grape shade barrier. If you're gonna grow things in the summer in Florida, you're gonna need the shade, so I incorporate it in as much as I can. These large leaves really do a great job providing shade. I'm gonna end up trimming off most of these leaves because they're overhanging where I need them, but these will also make excellent chicken compost. And I never miss an opportunity to give a shout out to my chickens or to highlight them in these videos because they complete the circle that is my backyard food forest. Now with the animal component, you know, I take things like these leaves, throw them in there, they become composted and manured, and then return the nutrients back in. But all of this, just about everything I'm pulling out of my yard now, I throw back into the chicken pen. Oh, how you doing, little hens? How you doing? They were in here foraging all day. Just throw them in, and all day they're scratching. Yeah, reliance on trust. Good to see you. Welcome. That's right. It's very important, the animal cycle. If you have a system in your yard of growing things that consists or has an absence of the animal component, I'm not sure how you're going to do it. To have a closed permaculture loop, I mean. I have actually, here, I'm going to put this down on the tripod. I brought my little tripod out with me. Let's see if I can, there we go. The chicken cam. See, I'm going to give them mealworms. I recently put wood chips down inside the chicken coop, and they love it. They almost make little nest spots in them. And my cycle has been recently to just take these little hens out and let them free range in the back area that we have set up for them. Here, put a simple fence on a corner of my yard that's been rich for years with organic matter. And they eat bugs and forage and scratch and make all of the leaves I throw back there to compost actively. And then I find late in the afternoon they're eager to go back into the coop. They really are eager to go back in the coop. And then during the day I've been feeding them these black soldier fly larvae, and which are super high in all kinds of good stuff for them, including calcium, which they're going to need when they start laying eggs. And if you can imagine such a thing, chicken math moment. Let me turn this up a bit. There we go. If you can imagine, each one of these hens, 5 hens, produce 250 2.5 ounce eggs. It's hard to imagine that much food coming from these little creatures, but that's over 1,000 eggs a year. And if you think about when you have a system where they are getting their primary amount of nutrients out of foraging, you know, you really, first of all, cut down your cost of the feed, but you also make it more of a closed loop. So the other thing is the chickens will eat food scraps. They'll eat just about any food scraps that you have, including meat. You know, we chop stuff real small, but these chickens will devour just about anything you put in there. So you start to think, it's very peaceful back here. You start to think, you know, what is waste? Anything you don't eat, these little hens are going to chow down. So nothing really goes to waste. The concept of waste becomes recycled in the way you practically apply methods in your backyard. I would claim. This is a prime commodity, and that is mango leaves. Mango leaves have been an excellent chicken compost bedding back in the enclosure. So I just continuously throw the mango leaves back in there, and then they peck them and scratch them into smaller pieces over time. And like anything that falls out here, these are grape, by the way. Papaya, I recommend having a bunch of papaya in your yard if you're in subtropical regions, certainly, but you could even probably grow them just as an annual because of the amount of organic matter they produce for chop and drop and return back into your yard. So I'm constantly throwing. You see there's some ginger leaves that I threw back there. They were nibbling on those. But again, it's just a system now where I can continuously return organic matter and have it recycled into nutrients. Really pretty cool. Pretty cool system. And I'm considering now trying to establish a relationship with some local restaurants to see if I can get on a schedule of getting some food scraps from them. I know there's a number of like acai bowl places and local chains that have vegetable and fruit scraps that those chickens would love. And if I can get in a relationship where I'm going to pick those up, we might be putting out the slop for the chickens every day. Every day is possible. You know, I always say, what did they feed the chickens when the Pilgrims got here? You know, they fed them whatever the chickens found. And some of these breeds of chickens are and food scraps. Some of these breeds of chickens date back that far in terms of the heritage. So really cool thing to learn about chickens. And I recommend you get some if you can. If nothing else, just for the confidence it gives you of being able to provide food for your family regardless of what else is happening. Now, this will be interesting this year because the hurricanes have not arrived yet. So I built several new structures since the last big windy event. And I'm curious how they're going to make it through the next through the first one or whatever we get. But hopefully we won't get. Last year we hardly got anything in terms of wind events. But this year, who knows? But the point is, that's a plastic roof that's bolted on there pretty well, and I don't have a problem with this structure. I don't think it would lift up or anything, but it'll be interesting having animals during the storm events. We will see. Yeah, this fort is slowly but surely getting converted into a chicken and food producing structure. Check this out. We've got, I'll show you this. I just like to take out just a piece of it, not the whole thing, because this is a good vegetable. This is a Florida native. It's purslane, deer's paw they call it. Hopefully you can see that pretty well. It's actually really good. It's an easy vegetable to grow. It grows wild as a weed everywhere. There's not a lot of it in my yard now because anything that jumps around like the rabbits or hops around like those chickens gets these right away. Wow, Reliance on Trust. You fed 30 hens on compost. That's so cool. Just amazing, really. Are they all down here? Oh, they're all down here. Let's see if you'll eat that deer's paw. Oops. I'm trying to get it through the hole here, guys. Gross. All right, we're going in this way. Yeah, they're not going to let that go to waste. They'll eat every bit of that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're happy hens. Happy hens, definitely. They're sleepy hens right now because they've had all morning hunting around, exploring for bugs, so they'll go to sleep. I'll come out here and they'll be taking the snooze. Full craws. That's right. Stuck in my craw. Go back there, peck on some grit, get their gizzard all filled up, and do what chickens does. Yeah. Nice evening, nice blue skies. We're gonna head down, jump in that ocean, go for a swim. I appreciate you. Thanks for jumping on the stream, everybody. James Tropicals, Reliance on Trust, and everyone else. I appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up if you like these kinds of videos, and I'll see you soon.